What up, everybody, and welcome to Baz on Blades. My name is Baz, and I talk about blades, and I'm very happy today to be bringing you another fine fixed blade knife from Kaiser Knives. And it makes me happy because when you think Kaiser Knives, you don't think about fixed blades. You think about ball bearing pivot flipper folders. And these fixed blades from Kizer, they sort of fly under the radar, and they really shouldn't. They are doing a fine fixed blade knife. What we've got here today is the Kizer produced, Dirk Pinkerton designed Little River Bowie. It is a medium-sized, clip point, modern rendition of a classic outdoorsman's Bowie knife. And it's a great design. It has a lot of great design aspects and features going for it. Now, the model number is 1029-1029, and right now it is going for $91 across the board. I think you will see it's a fairly competitive price point, and this knife does have a lot going for it. Now, we'll move the knife out real quick. We will come in with the Kaiser packaging. It is their glossy, cream-colored box packaging. Let's open it up, guys. And if we can get the interior box out, it is the structured cardboard, very premium-looking box that Kaiser uses. Inside of that, you will find common case accoutrement in the plastic bag the knife was in. There's a Kaiser branded microfiber cleaning cloth. Then you've got some Kaiser brochure here on care, use, and just promotional stuff. And, no fault there as far as the packaging goes. It seems very premium to me. It looks premium. It does add that to purchasing the knife. Here is your label information. You can see it is the 1029 Dirk Pinkerton Little River Bowie, 8.8 inches overall, and barcode. Now, we will get that out of the way. We will bring the knife back in. Let's very quickly go over the specs of this knife, get the numbers out of the way, and then spend some time talking about this wonderful little Bowie style knife. Now, we're looking at a 4 3/8 inch blade length. That is 11 centimeters. Your blade stock thickness is 163 thousandths of an inch, or 4.1 millimeters. The blade width at the widest is 1.3 inches, or 34 millimeters. Handle length equal to the blade length, 4 3/8 of an inch, or 11 centimeters. Handle thickness slightly above average at 551 thousandths of an inch, or 14 millimeters. Your handle width here at the widest point, 1.3 millimeters, or 1.3 inches and 34 millimeters. Overall length, 8 3/4 of an inch, or 22 centimeters. Behind the edge thickness, I got 30 thousandths of an inch, or 0.76 millimeters. Pretty average for this type of knife. Your handle to blade ratio, which I do not often do in a fixed blade, but will this time, is 1:1. Excuse me, guys. Since both the blade length and the handle length are 4 3/8 of an inch, or 11 centimeters. Weight for this knife, 6.38 ounces for the knife alone. But if you include the sheath, the Kydex sheath, which we will look at later, you're looking at 8 1/4 ounces, and then in grams, that is 182 grams and 235 grams respective. Material-wise, the blade is in 1095 carbon steel, has a carbon content of 0.9 to 1.03, no chromium, no vanadium. It is a very basic carbon steel with no stainless properties. You will typically see it rock weld in the 58 to 60 range. What you get out of it is decent edge resistance. That is not the forte of 1095. It will not hold an edge forever, but it is easy to sharpen because it does not have all the carbides you would find in an alloyed steel that make it tougher to sharpen. So that is your trade-off. One benefit of that trade-off is good impact resistance or toughness. So if you have to chop with this, you're not going to get a lot of breakage or chipping or cracking at the blade edge. You will get deflection or bending that you can reshape when sharpening rather than chipping. A great trade-off for a steel that's going to be seen outdoor use. Now, corrosion resistance, again, it is not stainless. 1095 is a straight-up carbon steel. It will rust. Okay, that is why you always see 1095 with a coating on it, which this knife does have, and you will only see the edge exposed typically. Keep that edge wiped down with some mineral oil, with some Tough Glide, whatever lube you use on the pivots of your folders, whatever, guys. Just minimal care. Cleaning and oiling after use of exposed steel with carbon steels is really all you need to typically take care of it, unless you live along the coast in a very humid or salt-laden atmosphere. I would not recommend this knife if you lived on the coast of the United States or anywhere where you have high salt air. Now, in the handle, you're looking at 3D machine G10 that is very well machined. Let's get very close here, guys. It is very well machined as far as the surface texture, the quality of the machine, and consistency on the mirror side here, the fit to the tang of the blade, everything done very well in that G10. And then we have black finished stainless dome-headed torque screws, and they are T10s, I believe, guys. I've never broken those loose, never had any reason to, but the last of the Kaiser fixed blades I had, I could not break the screws loose without heat, so I would say that they are Loctited. That's fine with me. No issues there. Material-wise, very simple as a utilitarian use fixed blade should be, okay? This would not be as good a knife if it was in stainless Damascus with mother of pearl handles and mosaic pins. It just would not be an outdoor user knife, guys. But in this configuration, it is just made for that. Now, we'll carry on with fit and finish. As far as the blade goes, the grinds are well done. They're even side to side. Let's take a look at the plunge there. The swedge on the clip is even side to side. Your primary grind is even side to side. Your secondary grind, your edge grind, is even side to side. Very well done, Kaiser. There's a lot of very expensive knives out there that the secondary bevel is not even on. You do have some blade markings here, the Kaiser marking, different numbers for your model, and then you've got, there you go, Little River Bowie. Look at this, guys. Yeah, that's not bad. 1095 high carbon. I don't see any issues there. I don't think on a knife like this you're going to really focus on how much billboarding or whatever is on the blade. It's you know, it's all small, guys. There's a little bit of it there, but it's not bad. Fit and finish on the handle again. We'll take another close look at the handle here. It's very well done. It's very well done. There's no issues as far as fit and finish goes on this knife, guys. Everything's smooth. Everything is lined up. It is well affixed, well machined. It's just well done. So 0 issues on fit and finish on this knife. Now, as far as ergos and utility, that's where this knife shines, guys. And before we get into that, we're going to bring in some size comparisons, some common knives that you will know. We'll set this down right here. First, we are going to bring in a SE3. Now we're going to line those up, handle scale to handle scale, guys. Let's line them up there. You're going to see handle-wise, pretty much the same. Blade-wise, the Pinkerton at 4 3/8 of an inch is a little bit longer than the SE. What's a lot longer is the cutting edge. Let's line the cutting edge up, and you will see now we have got approximately 7/8 of an inch more of cutting edge, and you see where that loss is for the SE3. It's in the forward finger choil. That is why I'm not a huge fan of forward finger choils. Now, the next knife we're going to bring out here, let me get it out of the sheath, is another SE product. And we're going to go step to the bigger side here, and there is your SE6. So we've got an SE3 here, we've got the Little River Bowie, and we've got the SE6, and I now have them lined up at the forward edge of the handle scales. That will give you a good idea of what size this knife is. We'll do one more size comparison, and we'll pull out the other Kaiser fixed blade that I just reviewed, and that is the Maverick Customs designed Harpoon. And it is a small fixed blade, guys. It is smaller in the handle and in the blade length than the Little River Bowie is. All right, there you go. I should have brought out the Spyderco Paramilitary too, because that's the size reference right there. I mean, seriously, that's the size reference. But as far as ergos and utility go on this knife, what can you say about a classic clip point design? You've got plenty of straight edge where you can choke up close to that edge and do detailed cutting. You've got plenty of belly here. I mean, it's basically, this blade is half belly and half straight edge. You have got a nice acute point that, even though it is acute, the way this is ground, it is not overly thin. It is a substantial enough point to be seriously usable in the field. When you cut with this knife, I did some cutting with it, and we'll talk about, this coating here. You can see some discoloration. That's from wood, actually. There's some slight rubbing on the high lines here from the grinds, and that's from the sheath. The coating is sort of a powder coating type of thing, and it's going to wear. First, it's going to wear smooth, it's going to burnish shiny, and then it's going to wear through. And that's just the downside with coatings. But when you cut with it, you're not going to do a lot of slicey stuff with this knife. With a 30 thousandths behind the edge thickness and this coating, it's not really, in my opinion, the best for slicing like cardboard. Okay, I'm not going to pick this knife to slice cardboard, guys. But if I'm going to go out in the field and I'm going to do some woodwork with it, notching anything or feather sticking or campsite, fireside type of use, it's an excellent blade for that. I think one of the reasons is they didn't go with a full height grind on it. A shorter grind makes more of a wedge out of that primary grind there. So this little knife, surprisingly, although the back of the blade is not the best design for battoning, it would do it very well, guys, as far as the blade length would accommodate. Now, the 30 thousandths behind the edge, I know some of you are thinking, good Lord, that's thick, but it's really not. Now, for a folding knife, an EDC folding knife that you want to see in the 15 to 20 thousandths behind the edge, that would be thick. But for a fixed blade knife, guys, with blade stock thickness of 160 thousandths and this type of grind, it's not too awful thick. In fact, it's pretty much the same behind the edge thickness that this SE6 has. And it's in a 3/16 blade stock thickness. That's 187 thousandths of an inch versus 160 thousandths on the Little River Bowie. So not much difference there. The difference is the SE has got a a very high, full flat grind, and that's how it gets the same behind the edge thickness with the thicker blade stock that the Little River Bowie has. You know what, guys? I don't really have any issue with that. I thought that I would at first, but in use, it's not that bad at all. It's not that bad at all. It's a very utilitarian blade, and it cuts very well. Not going to be a super slicer, but as a cutter and a working knife, I think that 30 thousandths behind the edge is acceptable, and it will make for a stronger edge, especially under impact. Utility-wise on that blade, very good. Classic Bowie, clip point, got a nice ramped section with jimping here. It works very well for me. You can see that even without a forward finger choil, you are pretty doggone close to that edge. It's over 1/4 of an inch. You know, you're not too far away, guys. I don't miss not having a forward finger choil. I would rather have the extra cutting edge on this particular knife. And that's personal opinion, guys. That's neither here nor there. It's just what Baz on Blades likes. Now, we're going to go into the ergonomics of this handle. It is 3D machined. Let's take a look at that here. It is softly radiused. It's very, very comfortable. This machining is 2 stages. The overall has been radiused, guys, and then the edges have been rolled over with a secondary radius, and it just flows together. Your finger choil here, it does have a wide flat chamfer on it to make it more comfortable. You know, the handle is just the perfect width to thickness ratio to make it comfortable. Size-wise, this is the knife in my medium-large hands. Again, my hand size is large with medium-length fingers, and it works very well for me. I think anybody with average to large size hands is going to be very comfortable on this knife while still getting a fairly compact you know, overall length, 8 3/4 of an inch. It's not a huge knife. It is not a huge knife. It's compact. It's a companion type knife. There we go. That's what we need to call it. It's a companion type knife, much like the Mora Companion, that is a classic of, you know, outdoorsmen and bushcrafting guys as, you know, an entry level knife for that niche. So I think companion knife that's a good describer for the size of this. And this handle shape is so ergonomic. When you grab a hold of it, it just melts into your hand, or your hand melts into it, or they melt into each other, whatever. It feels fantastic. Very good balance of width to thickness. Nice 3D machining, chamfered finger choil. It's just a very, very good feeling knife in a forward grip. It's a great feeling knife in a reverse grip. The handle is not so thick that you can't get up here and use it in a pinch grip to choke up on the edge for finer cutting. Ergonomics-wise, fantastic. Fantastic. Overall, a very utilitarian, very ergonomic, modern take on a classic clip point Bowie design. You can see here in the handle, you do have a substantial lanyard hole. For you guys that love the lanyards, there you go. You've got a second section of widely spaced jimping on the back here. It is flush with the handle scales, but when you press on it, it does, the meat of your hand, your thumb or whatever goes down into it, guys. You can see right there. I like this jimping. It's deep enough and wide enough that it doesn't have to be super sharp on the tops. You're not getting traction from that sharpness. You're getting traction from the deepness and pushing your thumb down into that jimping. It pushes the flesh down in it, and look at that, guys. It really grabs a hold. Very well done as far as that goes. Yeah, utilitarian use. Ergonomics are a winner on this little knife. And it's not really little. It's a medium knife. Let's just call it a medium knife, guys. Now, we're going to set the knife aside. We're going to talk about the sheath. I'm going to say the only negative thing about this package is going to be in the sheath itself. And let's pre-qualify this by saying, believe it or not, one of the hardest things to get right in a fixed blade knife is the sheath. No one sheath design will make everybody happy. The things I'm going to point out are not really design issues. I think there was a decision as far as the clip for the sheath that I wouldn't have made. But what we've got here is a Kydex sheath. It is well formed. It has a very little amount of play in it, guys. You've got to move it. You've got to move it to get that play, and it's a very, very little. The things that I'm going to say about this sheath are this. I've got a tech lock on it. It did not come with a tech lock. It does not come with a tech lock, guys. It comes with a J-hook type folded over Kydex type of J-hook. It may not be Kydex. It may be injection molded thermoplastic, but it is a J-hook. I don't like that. I don't like it at all. It's flimsy. It's cheap. It's very much cheaper to form this than it is to pay for a much more complex manufacturing of a tech lock. But the tech lock is superior in every way to what was on it. It's superior in every way. It's stronger. You can affix it more reliably. And that's why I put this on. You can buy these separate, guys. They're $15, $17. And they're pretty much indestructible. They're such heavy fiber reinforced plastic that you just really have to destroy it to knock it off of something. The sheath, I'm not too happy with that J-hook. Look at this, guys. Look, that's the difference there. You can see obviously that tech lock is much stronger than this J-hook. Now it's a cost-cutting thing, I would assume, because the sheath is set up that the tech lock went straight on. So as far as the spacing of the eyelets, straight on there, guys. It is set up for a tech lock, no issue there. This is to get you through until you decide what you're going to do with the sheath, because the sheath itself is pretty solid. Now, the next thing I'm going to say about it, the throat of the sheath is very high, okay? You do have good access to the finger choil part of the handle. So you are oriented correctly on the handle in order to pull it out. But on a fixed blade sheath, what you want is the back of the sheath to be right here where your thumb is going to go. So you're going to push off in the user position. What happens here is the throat of the sheath is very high up on the handle, and it does not have a ramp on it per se to push off on. So what I am probably going to do is the retention of this sheath is right here. So I've got, say, from the tip of my finger here all the way up that is just not being used. What I'm going to do is I'm going to come back and I'm going to trim about 3/8 of an inch off the length of that. Then I'm going to take my heat gun and heat up the back and pull out a little push-off ramp. And that will be fixed. Anybody can do that. It's not really a manufacturer's defect. It's just in the way it's designed. And again, this is such a user-dependent piece of kit. The sheath, there's a reason there's so many different types of sheaths out there. There are actually knives that you can buy that they'll have 3 or 4 sheath choices from the manufacturer, not even counting what the aftermarket will supply for it. So not an issue right there. I think the sheath works very well. Upgrade it with a tech lock, and maybe if you want to change the throat area here, trim it back a little bit. Not an issue. Other than that, Very solid. Actually, that feels like it's 80 thousandths Kydex. That's very solid. As far as the thickness of the Kydex goes, it's a trim sheath. It's not overly sized. It's well finished out around the edges. No issues there. Yeah, it's not bad at all. It's not bad at all. Just a few little modifications and it's good to go. And that's just how Bazon Blades likes it. That may not even be how you like it. I don't even know, 200 or 300 or 1,000 people or whatever are going to see this video and they will like a sheath 200 or 300 or 1,000 different ways. There's no way to make everybody happy on everything. I think as far as the foundation of this knife, the knife itself is excellent. It is an excellent option in that 4-inch blade length. If you want a knife in carbon steel, which will give you less wear resistance, less edge retention, but better impact resistance, it will be easier to sharpen. Another trade-off, it's not stainless in any way. It will have to be cared for. So if you like 1095 for its attributes and trade-offs are okay, then you are going to be good to go on this. I honestly, if they had done it in stainless, it would have been just as good. It would have been just as good in stainless because the design is so good. So no issues there. Even with the shortcomings that I pointed out on the sheath, I like the sheath. I like the sheath. And I don't think there's really any issues with it. Put the tack lock on it, trim it back a little bit if you want, and you are good to go with a solid, well-fitted sheath, a solid, well-designed knife at an approachable price point, sub $100. Shop around. Like I say, I found this from a reputable dealer on eBay for $65. $65. That's a hell of a deal. That's a hell of a deal. And I'm going to close out this review, and I'm going to compare this knife to something some of you may be familiar with, and that is an old school Benchmade Nimravis knife. The original models with the G10 handles, they were in ATS 34, I believe. I owned one of those knives, and I'm going to tell you right now, this knife feels exactly the same as one of those knives. Solid quality. If I close my eyes and I hold this knife, the way the G10 feels, the size of it, it reminds me so much of that drop point Nimravis that I had. So much. And that says a lot. Because Benchmade, I'm not a huge Benchmade fan, but they make a quality product. I'm not going to rag on them. This is a quality product, guys. If the price point is right for you, it is a great option in that 4-inch outdoorsman sort of knife range. We're going to bring it here, close this out. As always, guys, thank you very much for taking the time to watch one of my videos. God bless all of you, and we will talk to you again.